because humans are all just weird little fucks. That's how we are.
And weird little fucks. You're right.
Yeah, and I'm saying that as a very affectionate thing, by the way. Please include that in the edit. I am saying that very affectionate.
That's your like leader into the episode, Carly, is humans are weird little fucks.
That may make it into my tombstone now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, hello and welcome to Our Flag Means Fanfiction. Today we will be talking about RPF, or real person fanfiction, and that is a source of much contention among every fandom, everywhere, forever and ever and ever. So naturally, I thought it'd be a great idea for me to talk about it with people, because I just like to get into the mess. So I am Ringa-san, and I am not into RPF. I have read some of it, but I'm not especially into it. It's just that I don't dislike it. I'm just whatever. And with us today, we have someone who writes RPF and is new to the podcast, and her name is Laura. And we have someone who reads a lot of RPF and has been on the podcast many times, and that is Bel. And then we have returning to us once again, our beloved Dr. Omegaverse, who is also known as Jasper. And Jasper's here to tell us some insight for the psychological whatnots, because Jasper has like 20 degrees in giving therapy to fictional characters. So, right, Jasper?
Yeah, totally.
All right. So, hi, everybody. Thank you for coming onto this podcast to talk about RPF. Oh, wait, I have a thing. Hold on. This is very professional. I prepared for this a whole lot. Okay. Urban Dictionary defines RPF as a term used usually in fan fiction, meaning real person fiction, such as making fan fiction of real people. And then the example it gives says, friend 1, hey, did you read that BTS RPF fan fiction I wrote? Friend 2, why the fuck did you make BTS X reader smut with 5 question marks? So we're getting really into the seriousness of it all today. Real quick, Archive of Our Own, as of this month, has 14,220,000 fics, roughly, and only 849,000 of those are RPF. That's 6%, which is actually a lot lower than I thought it would be. But I guess that's just goes to show how like controversial this is. Because
we're slacking. Yeah,
we are slacking. Oh, and you know what?
Are you logged in when you checked that?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Wait. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
Sometimes I have found that a lot of people who do RPF lock their fics a little bit more often.
Yeah. Or they're doing. There's a lot of anonymous. Oh, hey! Before we get into this, Carly, you're gonna love me. I even have notes on what I'm doing, and yet, before we get into this, we're gonna go ahead and go around and say what's the most gay pirate thing that's happened to you recently? Because I forgot to do that in one of the most recent podcasts that I hosted, and we're not doing it again. This is very important. So, Bel, what do you have that's happened to you recently?
I took my 82-year-old father to get his very first piercing. He all of a sudden, out of nowhere, over Christmas, said, hey, I've been thinking of getting my ear pierced. And I was on that so quickly. I talked to his doctor. I found somebody who will do it. He also wants to have my mom's name tattooed on his finger. And I said, absolutely not. If you thought that having your ear pierced.
Let him do it.
Let him do it. I've told him, do it like in your arm or something. Because if you thought that getting your earlobe pierced, having your fingers tattooed, I am not about to pay a tattooist to clean your fingers and for you to not paddle that. So that was fun. My father and his whims.
Excellent. I love that for him. Jasper, do you have a gay pirate thing that's happened to you?
The only thing that's happening in my life is classes right now. But I have had lots of talk it over as a crew style discussions in my class about
gay things.
Weird thing. Well, I always try
to make it gay. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm more successful than most, but I did talk about fan fiction in class today as an example of anti-capitalist being a poor neoliberal subject and like sticking it to the man. fan
Excellent.
fiction.
I love that.
And my professor just believed me.
I mean, but it's legit. It's part of the using art as a weapon. So how about you, Laura? Do you have a gay pirate thing that's happened to you?
Last night, my spouse and I purchased a toy shaped like a tentacle.
Yes! Amazing.
It's called the Ika from Red Dragon, and it's going to be in like a sparkly gradient.
I love that so much. There's definitely a lot of fanfics that you could act out with that from this fandom.
Yeah, we've been living like YOLO since the beginning of this year. So
I mean, there is no God. There is no
right. It's all burning. So just
no hope.
Buy the toy.
We just don't know how long we're gonna have. So
you were like, I think the second person in 2 days to tell me something like that. I'm very
That's
happy.
amazing.
We're all
I
just
love it.
stepping authentically into our own. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think me 5 years ago would have shared that. And here I am.
And here you're talking about real person fiction and tentacle toys, and it's amazing. I love that for you.
Thanks.
Well, mine's not nearly as exciting, but we already did a little episode about the Con O'Neill class that I was involved with, and I had lunch with my mom a couple days ago. She's very conservative Christian, and I was like trying to tell her about the class, and I was like, so yeah, there's, I wrote these stories for that actor guy, and they ranged in content matter. I'm like trying to think of how to, and she's like, was it porn? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, oh my God, I'm wearing a cross, and shows me this pin of her cross. And I was like, good for you.
Jesus.
And then she kept going on like, you can write other things. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm really good at this.
So it's really fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we had some interesting conversations, including a lot of stuff about varying degrees of transness and what things mean in association with that. Despite her conservatism, she is not on the like homophobic, transphobic, racist end of that, or I wouldn't still be talking to her. She is more on the but our economy kind of thing. So we had a lot of conversation with me trying to explain things till I kind of was like, all right, next subject, because it's a lot. And then she gave me a couple birthday presents, and one of them was Christian Nairn's book, and I was like, this is one of the guys that read one of my stories. So that was very exciting and full circle moment. Excellent. Back to real person fan fiction. We've described what it is. So like in the sense of Our Flag Means Death, this would be like a Taika and Reese story that's about Taika and Reese, not about Steed and Ed. Like, so there's the Our Flag Means Death, RPF, like fandom as a tag on AO3, and it only has 223 works in it. Come on, people, get with it. There needs to be more, I guess. But I also found that there is an associated tag that is New Zealand Actors RPF.
Nice.
Yes, it is very specific. I didn't click on it to see if it's like anyone besides Taika and Reese.
Well, let's look at the people that are from New Zealand. We're talking Carl Urban. We're talking
You're
Lucy
right. I didn't
Lawless.
think about him. Okay, so Stephen Amell and Anthony Starr, which I am going to assume that's like a DC thing that I don't know about. The next one's Reese Darby and Taika, and there's 127 in that.
Wow.
And then the next one's KJ Appa and Logan Marshall Green. I have no idea what that is.
KJ is Archie from Riverdale. I don't know who the other guy is.
But the next pairing, the fourth most popular pairing in the New Zealand Actors RPF is Blackbeard and Steed Bonnet. So
All right.
we got a little confused. The next one is Rita Ora and Taika. The next one is Reese Darby and his wife Rosie, right?
Yeah.
And then we have Ryan Quanten and Sam Worthington. And then we have Luke Evans and Alexander Skarsgård. The last most popular one with 10 fics is Carl Urban / Reader.
I'm not at all shocked over that.
He doesn't have like a buddy that they're going to pair him with.
Yeah, the buddy is you.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm surprised that he doesn't have
a lot of people who are just going, I just want him right now.
Yeah.
I suppose so.
Has he been in any movies that he stars a person that he hasn't seen chemistry with?
He's been in those Star Trek movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the Chris Pine, Carl Urban fic? fanfic.
Right?
Wait, Carl Urban is the one that played Bones, right?
He was also in, Ragnarok, so we could ship him with Taika directing him in Ragnarok.
Oh yes, people.
All right,
take
I'm
notes,
speaking it
please.
into
Yeah,
the
these are
world.
the-
Urban, come on, man.
He was in Short Puppies too, so you have the Carl Reese angle.
Oh, right. Oh my God. Well, here's the new OT3 is Taika Waititi, Reese Darby, and Carl Urban. Somebody make it so. All right.
I'm gonna need a minute. Don't mind me.
I mean, there's a reason why there's so few of these fanfics, and there's a reason why people make them private and post them as anonymous, because it is extremely controversial. People look down on it. People shame people on the internet for writing them or reading them. This is not just stuff that's right up in your face. You have to try to find it. The problem is when these actors go on talk shows and they're like, oh, let me get a rise out of you and show you fan art that's of you and your buddy or whatever, which is not okay. That's not okay. Involving the actors in the art, if they don't want to be involved in it, that's where the problem is. I personally, as someone who does not care for RPF, I don't see the problem with it if it doesn't go back to them, because I don't know, that's just where I stand, which I think probably a lot of people disagree with, because this is so looked down upon. But as someone who doesn't care for it, I don't see the problem with it existing. Now, as someone who writes it, Laura, what do you think? Have you had people getting all up in your business?
No, so I actually just checked up on my last RPF, which I updated 8 years ago.
Woohoo! Is it a Marvel thing?
Yeah, it's a Sebastian Stan story with an original female character. And yeah, I have not written it in 8 years, but back when, on Tumblr, which is where my internet
the Tumblr
fic journey started. I actually started writing, I have to say that I used to write 30 Seconds to Mars fanfic.
Oh boy.
I love it.
We all started somewhere.
Well, actually, my real start was in high school writing NSYNC RPF.
Ooh, see, that's excellent.
So that's those are my roots. And then I just changed bands as I aged.
Come to think about it, in high school, I wrote Beatles RPF.
Amazing.
But I've never thought about it till just now. But yeah, I did write Beatles RPF, but it was absolutely G-rated platonic. There was no, anything, but I didn't ever think about, they were just little short stories, but it is RPF because it's fictional stories about real people. So, hey, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
Add it to my list of crimes.
Yeah.
I want to see that list.
It's a lengthy one.
So even though I haven't written it in a long time, I still understand the desire to, but I think that what you mentioned, Ringa, is probably the biggest reason why I haven't gone back to that in a long time, because, as much as I believe fanfic is for fans and, not to share with actors or whoever it's about, you can't control that on the internet.
Yeah.
There was this thing that 30 Seconds to Mars used to have called Vert. It was weird, but it was this interactive streaming thing.
Oh my God.
And Jared used to pop in and there'd be 6 people in the chat and we'd all talk to him for an evening. So there was it was a bizarre time in my life.
That is so funny.
Also they did concerts and things that you could buy passes to and download. And a few years ago, I was like, oh yeah, I wonder whatever happened to that. I spent a lot of money on content and the website's dead. It's gone.
You need to back that shit up. First rule of the internet. Right. Download it.
But there was this one person that suddenly popped up in all the chats who started posting links to people's Jared Leto fanfics. And I was like, that is not for them. No, they're not asking for that. They're not acknowledging you. Nobody's acknowledging you. And it was it made me so anxious because I was like, that's not for him. That's for everybody else.
And I think you have to think about it you wouldn't just send some random person that a RPF or any kind of fanfic unless they asked for it, unless you knew that they were into that and they wanted to see it. You wouldn't just send someone porn. I don't send people porn unless I know they want porn.
Yeah. Right? By the way, I haven't received porn from you in a long time. Just want to know.
We don't use that chat. Oh, right. Yeah. All you have to do is ask. I provide porn upon query.
Wonderful. But yeah, when it's
But
not
yeah,
consensual, it's not cool.
Unless someone has asked you for it, you wouldn't give it to them as a normie, as a regular person. So why would you do that with like a celebrity? That's like non-consensual.
Yeah.
And we don't want that unless we do want it. Yeah.
And some of them do, but
some of them do. Like Taika has definitely expressed that he likes looking at the pornographic fan art of himself.
That's fantastic.
Khan, now I don't know how Khan feels about RPF. I don't know if he even knows that's a thing, but he likes the art of it with his face on it, like, so that's what's like Steve was talking about, like the art with Reese's face. And I'm like, just unfortunately, like you are the face of this character. Now you don't ever have to see that. You don't have to know it exists, which you shouldn't. If you don't want to know about it, you shouldn't have to know it exists. And anyone who's like trying to show actors stuff they don't want to know about should like think about their motivations for that, because it's weird. But I don't see any problem with people enjoying things if they're not harming anyone doing it.
Right.
Oh, I think like part of it that kind of goes under examined is that like none of the people who are writing the RPFs actually have interpersonal relationship with the person that they're writing about. So if you don't know them, and they are projecting a character, like just fundamentally, we all do, but like they are projecting a like public face character that is aimed at communicating a certain thing. And like that's a lot different than their authentic true self. Like when I think of Taika, I don't think that he's like that all the time. Maybe he is. I don't know. But like, he's projecting a certain picture. And that's the picture that people are playing with, right? Which I think is part of the kind of a little bit tension, because I think that there are some people that don't like hold space for that well, don't quite wrap their heads around it.
Yeah.
Because they want the person that they're seeing to actually be the true person, which is fine, but also not accurate.
Yeah, when I started writing that Sebastian RPF, I hadn't met him. I didn't even watch like interviews or anything with him or anything like that. So I just, he's completely fictional to me, like this version. Like I could change the name and have a different story.
Publish, yeah.
And I think a lot of people, that's how they write these real people, because how many of these fans have actually met them? And even if they have, like you said, there's a character that is their, like what they're showing to the public, that is what they're putting out there. They are actors.
Yeah.
One could say, I like coming back to this refrain, I do it a lot, but one could even say that like the Bible is just RPF about Jesus. Like,
it is.
I have said that before. I have said that before.
That's what we need to say to people when they get all uppity about stuff like this.
Yeah.
What is the Bible but RPF?
Well, yeah.
And I mean, so much other things is not our flag means death, RPF.
That's, I was going
our
to
flag
mention
means
that.
death is RPF.
It's kind of,
It is based on a ton of real people, and it's fictionalized of history, so, well, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of other shows. I can't think of any right now because I'm totally drawing a blank.
Trojan.
Sure.
RPF.
Yep.
Many of Shakespeare's plays, RPF.
Yes.
Any story that you have read about The Crown.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah. Alexander, with his name, Colin.
But they're better because they have
Farrell?
what production? I don't know.
Is that what makes them okay? Is if they're
Money.
Produced by something and there's like a reputable name involved with it?
Although I think we've all know by now that it is very, very wrong to go back in history and gayify characters.
Yes, let's not have any more butthole buccaneers created.
Please, people.
As we all know, gay people didn't exist until last century.
It's just because we've gotten bored. So we just, we've nothing better to do than be queer. And that's how it came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're not on any important websites. So we're totally new.
No. Yeah. No.
There's another aspect of it, and this is another one where I get a lot of flack from people, which is the idea that when you go explicit or mature, that sex itself is shameful, or that it takes something away from the people that are involved in it, or like you're harming a person by imagining them in a sexual situation, that it's, I guess, abusive, and that's another issue another thing I have an issue with. That is not inherently harmful just because it's sex. It's not inherently shameful just because it's sex. So
And that's
Yeah.
going to be like personal issues, I think, with your own self.
Yeah.
As to why you don't like that kind of stuff. But also there's probably along with that, people like a lot of RPF is either actor / reader type stuff or actor / original, whatever, or it's like gay. So Bel, as someone who reads a lot of it, what about it is interesting to you?
I mean, it's the same reason I read the, AUs, modern AUs, or it just puts these people that I enjoy spending time with, if you will, in different scenarios. And it is, like we were saying, it's just another type of character. Like, I don't somehow think that these people have guessed what these people are like in real life and have, gotten a hold of some footage or something. No, it's not that. So, and again, because I don't find sex to be inherently harmful to the people, I don't see the problem with whether I call them Ed or Taika or whatever. It just,
I think
it's still the same thing to me.
Yeah, and the fact that like we're really into these actors helps, us want to see them in different forms. Like I never really read any Marvel RPF, but I really enjoyed so I was a Science Bros shipper, and so that's Bruce and Tony, and I really enjoyed Robert and Mark being very close with each other, and they would hug, and they would there's one television appearance where like Mark sat on Robert's lap, and that was like my wallpaper on my phone for like 2 years. And it's partially that they're the faces of these characters I love, but I don't know, is it something more than that? They're actors that I find attractive that have a chemistry together. And that's the same with like Taika and Reese. Like, do you remember when that lie detector test video came out and like they're just making hard eyes at each other and giggling at each other for like 30 minutes? Like, come on, it's adorable.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a theory about like some aspect of it, right? Is because like usually not in Our Flag Means Death, but in other fandoms, like for instance, Supernatural, like the directors and the writers were really clear about it's never going to happen. One, because the original ship was,
Wincest.
And they had to like put Cass in to be just like, please just distract yourself for a second. But
and then it's just Wincest with Castiel.
Exactly. A lot of the RPF is heavily impacted by our uptake of the characters, like the characters, like not the actors.
Yes.
Actual written characters, right? And it's just a different way of interpreting the actual written characters. And when we do it in RPF, like a lot of the actors know and play around with like, yeah, there's chemistry here. And it's a little bit subversive of like, we're probably not going to see it in the text, in the movie, in the film, whatever. The actors, like sometimes they would if they could,
Yeah.
That's just a little bit of like extra subversion.
Absolutely.
Like you saw with Teen Wolf. Did you ever?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I never got into that.
Those two kids were like this close to being just going off the script and being just like, no, this is my husband now. And the author was just like, no, I'm too internalized to do that.
Poe and Finn in Star Wars, like
so much.
Were like, we were playing this as a relationship, but Disney. But
Hannibal.
Oh my God! I mean that is wild that was not explicitly like canon because all of them wanted it to be. But I mean, I know the network and whatnot and all that, but like there's an unreleased cut of the final scene like at the end before like spoiler alert before like they do the swan dive thing where they're like I think Brian Fuller said like there were lips ghosting over lips, and I'm like, release the cut. There are another two that like will flirt like crazy with each other. Oh, really? Mads and Hugh, do every time there's a photo up, they're like biting each other.
That's great,
and it's great, and that's like. Clearly, if the actors are like that, they understand what's going on. I still wouldn't say show them, not safe for work fan art, but that's somebody who
I would not put it past like Mads Mikkelsen to be just like, oh yeah, I will go out of my way.
Honestly, he would probably just be like,
and he would probably share it with you, Dancy. But like, that's fine. That's on them.
He needs to work with Taika because they would make goddamn beautiful art.
Chaos. There's two chaos gremlins going at it. That's
Yes,
That would be incredible.
So good, amazing.
We would end up with the
This is my new RPF is Taika and Mads Mikkelsen.
Just write them a script.
I'm going to. Let's have a Taika directed series, right? Starring Mads Mikkelsen, Con O'Neill, and Misha Collins.
Like it would just
Listen, Ringa, you already almost killed me 2 weeks ago.
It doesn't even need a script. It can be very much like what we do in the Shadows, where there's like a general concept and they just put them all in a room and see what happens. Like it would be amazing. Anyhow, Misha
Veered so far off the track.
That's what happens. But Misha and Sebastian Roche, who played Balthazar, they have like one scene together in the show. I'm pretty sure they're in one episode together, and whatever, it was fine. You know, honestly, Castiel as the character doesn't have all that much chemistry with anyone besides Dean, because he's so like Spock. Like, yeah, Dean's like the only character I think that Castiel has like emotions with. Anyway,
I think that was intentionally curated.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah,
Because,
for sure.
Like they knew, and they like fucking they set up the Wincest in the show almost intentionally, and then got freaked out when that became a huge part of the fandom.
They're like, shove some angels in there.
Yeah, like leave room for the angel. Like, okay.
They were like, yeah, we have room right here in this sandwich.
But Misha and Sebastian did a lot of conventions together and just are like all over each other. They also have like, there's a gift set or something of them like sitting on each other. They're like basically making out all the time. They're hugging, they're like lifting each other up, they're carrying each other around, like they're just doing, and I'm like, so they became like a really big RPF ship in the Supernatural fandom, despite their characters having like one scene together.
Wow.
And yes, but I wrote down because I forgot that the ship name with Jared and Jensen and Misha was called J2M. Do you remember that?
I had no idea.
The ship Jared and Jensen is called J2, and then
Yeah.
and the ad Misha and it's J2. I forgot all about that. And
It sounds like a boy band.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Like a K-pop band or something. Which also the K-pop people, they RPF.
Yeah,
they RPF real hard.
Yeah.
And the same with like One Direction. Those people that like One Direction, they RPF real hard too.
Yeah, Wattpad was a breeding ground for One Direction fanfic.
So what do you think, Jasper? What do you think makes like so many people of like these kind of young boy band fandoms interested in writing the RPF, where like it's a taboo thing for people who are
it's
a little...
the same thing that happened with the Beatles.
I don't know if people wrote RPF about the Beatles back in the day.
I can't imagine
they had to have, but it was like absolute self-insert.
Oh yeah. Or okay, so there are still conspiracy theories about the Beatles, and what is the difference there, between
not a conspiracy theory if it's true.
7-hour YouTube documentaries done with there was that like one Tumblr post somewhere that like the only difference between a written fan fiction and like one of those like explaining YouTube-y things done by like weird dudes, like the only difference there is that one is made by a dude and one is stereotypically not. There are dudes in fandom spaces, of course.
Yes, of course.
But I know that like BTS has been like quite like affectionate with their fans. They care. It feels like they care, right?
I wonder if part of this is like being that it's K-pop, it's like BTS and One Direction and stuff are bands, and the same with like there's a ton of hockey RPF. These people don't have a character to ship them with another character. They're just the fandom is for these real people. Yeah. And so they have no choice but to RPF them because there's no character.
And every single celebrity has like a celebrity following. That's how it do, And like, Taylor Swift's Swifties are like making up wild headcanons about her being queer. She's not. Very explicitly. Sorry, I will get hate mail there. Sorry, she is whatever you think she is, and that is fine. The ways that fans make up stories in their head, that is what celebrity is. You make up stories to humanize this person and connect with them somehow. For some reason, there's some types of celebrities as in like not types of celebrities, like not the humans, not types of humans, but types of celebrity
fame.
Mhm.
Yeah, that kind of maybe hold more space for and now write about it, you know?
Yeah. As I said, there's like 849,000 RPF works on Archive of Our Own. And I clicked on the like fandoms to see what was like popular. And the number one thing with 126,000 stories is video blogging RPF.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which-
yeah.
I don't even
That's
know.
a bit contentious.
Vloggers and YouTubers.
The next thing is Dream SMP, and I have no idea what that means. And then the next one is Minecraft. So this is
the
all like
video bloggers in Minecraft. I
Yeah.
think that's the same fandom.
Yep.
well, they got all the things, like, because most of these are all like then there's like sports things, you know, and then it's like all video stuff, sports things. Then we got coming in at number 9, My Chemical Romance, and then at 10, at 10 is Supernatural. So, and then when I clicked on the relationships, the top one is something about video blogging RPF, which I don't understand. And then the next like 3 things are also things I've never heard of, which are like video stuffs, I guess. And then Dan and Phil are like on there, which is not surprising at all. And then the next one is Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. So get it, Supernatural fandom still going strong.
Oh, still going strong. Yeah.
Still going strong. And then if you click on the Our Flag Means Death RPF tag, the top relationships here are Reese, Darby, and Taika, right? And then the next one is Rosie and
Someone is such an intense fan of them. They're writing like little scenarios.
I mean-
where Rosie is on set, and
I mean, they're probably just writing what's happening in front of them, but
who will do the dishes?
Reese will. If you've ever seen any of Rosie's tweets, she's waiting for him to come home from wherever he is to do the dishes.
so long.
She talks about it quite frequently. The next one is Nathan and Con. There's only 13 of them. Wait, this is going to be really scandalous. The next one with 10 is Rosie and Taika.
I have a bet to place.
Okay.
I believe that the Vico and Khan is going to pop off. 'Cause
I hope so.
Yeah,
I
that
have not
probably
run into
fueled
that yet. And surprise.
Yeah, I didn't see any really pop up. Now, like Jim and Izzy is like a rare pair that like I think has kind of started to gain a following, but now, yeah, hopefully we get a little more going here. And then we have Rosie, Reese, and Taika, Rita and Taika, and then Con and Taika only have 6, which is silly. And those are like the 2 that most likely to like totally be cool with you writing it about.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Is that what you think stops people from writing it, Jasper? Is that it's okay? Do we write it because
Fiction?
it's scandalous? Do we write it because it's taboo? Do we write it because people...
That's such an interesting question. And also a very like psychoanalytic Freudian question.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not those things.
You're not a Freudian psychologist.
You are the
No.
only one of us here that has any kind of degrees in therapy things.
Is it part of the allure of writing the things that it's taboo? That is probably yes for some people, because humans are all just weird little fucks. That's how we are.
We're weird little fucks. You're right.
Yeah, and I'm saying that as a very
Someone
affectionate
put that on
thing,
a
by
shirt,
the way.
please.
Please include that in the edit. I am saying that very affectionately.
That's your like leader into the episode, Carly, is
That's gonna
humans
be
are
on my-
weird little
on my
fucks.
tombstone. That may make it into my tombstone now.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
That's
like
great.
But like we like playing with subversive things, and sometimes that means different things to different people. But I also think that we like playing with things that feel a little bit possible, right? Like we were talking about like the RPF, like the actors who were very much would have done it if they could have, you know?
Right. Now, do you think that the celebrities who specifically don't like RPF and that kind of a thing don't like it because they're not thinking? No.
Yes, I will diagnose.
Jasper, who is not mentally ill. No, the celebrities who are specifically like have said things that like that they aren't comfortable with it or whatever, you know, even just of like having their name or their character or their face used in fan art as a character or whatever. Do you think that it might make any kind of a difference if they're thinking about it as like, these people don't know you and this is not like specifically about you, it's about your public persona, which is its own character. Do you think that would make a difference to any of them?
Reactions to these kinds of things are a deeply personal matter, right? Like, at the end of the day, this can be boiled down into like people perceiving you. And historically, that has been the contentious spot for every single fucking human on the earth, right? How people perceive me is a deeply personal thing, right? And some people vibe with it in different ways. So I don't know, like, especially since I don't talk to celebrities like some people.
Like some people.
But like,
Who are you talking about?
How you're taken up by the public and how you're taken up by people who support you is a little bit different than how you're taken up by the people that are around you, like, right? But it's still very like potent. And some people I think get into public figureship because they enjoy that. And some people don't. So, I mean, like for like Reese and like, it sounds like there's some personal stuff that means that that's not a thing that he vibes with. And I wouldn't say that that's bad or different. And maybe is like some part of it could be that like he's like seeing too much of his own self in those reflections. Like he's closer to, like, I can imagine that Taika has a lot of distance between the persona that he exhibits and who he is at the end of the day. And I think it seems like he has a pretty solid grasp on how to use that for comedic effect, right? That one commercial that he did, there's like this one scene where he like, someone like offers him a cup of coffee and he bats it away, right?
Yeah,
and
it's like at the end of the
as himself, but he's acting in a comedic way, and with a lens of, if you assumed that I would actually be doing this, you have been reading me wrong, right? But I'm going to play into this, right? So I think that he has a lot of like space to explore there.
There is how comfortable people are being complimented, how comfortable people are being.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So some people are very comfortable with it. They love it. And then some people who get deeply uncomfortable, even just being told, hey, you look at that. That's so good. You're so handsome. And it just, kind of react poorly.
I think Reese also, like, it's a question of how many people are, like, he's dealing with it once, because when he meets people like one-on-one kind of at smaller events and things, he's been known to be chatty and whatnot. And if he's at a convention with a ton of people, he sometimes can seem really uncomfortable. And that's like overwhelming for any of us. But we know that Reese has some kind of bit of the tism, and which he's said himself, and
the perception as being a sexually attractive person also I think is a big shocker, because I mean, you can find so much nudity or near nudity in his career. It's all up until recently played for laughs.
Yes,
it's always
it is.
This weird ginger glow, half naked.
It is, and like now, it's been really nice to see him kind of like come into terms with accepting that people find him attractive, because I think at the beginning he was kind of like, what? No, but now he's like posting thirst traps and like doing these like photo shoots with like leather jackets
and like it up for you and take
like, and that's the same thing happened with Khan, where he had his like fans and whatever, but like he was saying like, I'm too old to take my shirt off and stuff, and then like now look at
everybody
now.
said
like
no.
So they've kind of all come into their own. It took like a fandom of people to be like, no, we think you're hot. But Reese, you can hear, like, if you listen to any of his interviews or if you listen to Cryptid Factor a bunch, like he has a lot of insecurities about lots of different things. One thing that like always like resonates with me is that, he's the youngest child and there's a big age gap between him and his other siblings. And he always says, I was a mistake. And as a mistake myself, I like to think of myself as an accident, not a mistake, because I've brought so much joy to the world, and so has Reese. It is not a mistake. It might be an accident, but I when I saw him in New Jersey somewhere like 2 years ago now, I gave him a bunch of buttons and a postcard, and the postcard said something like, like, just so you know, you shouldn't call yourself a mistake. You're not a mistake, like, because that he says that a lot. And it's just, I'm hoping that he, in getting this acclaim, not just for like his looks and whatever, but like for his acting skills and for, what he's been doing, what he's interested in, like it helps him to see like I'm valuable. And like that's why people write these things, is like they are appreciative of this guy, even if it's only what they can perceive of this guy from an outside point of view. Coming back around to it, let the kids do what they want.
Well, yeah, we can have like headcanons and like understandings and really like deeply well thought out reasons why this might be occurring, right? And also, it is just like, even those are RPF.
Yeah.
The end of the day, right? And that's not to say that they're bad, that's just to say that, like, I think holding that space of like, I have an assumption about this person and I'm aware that it could just be nothing, like it could be something completely different, which is I think one of the, like, I haven't really run into an RPF writer or reader who hasn't clarified that distinction. I've run into many antis that refuse to hold that distinction or assume that no one else can.
Interesting.
And it comes from a place of love, I think. Again, where if you're writing that, you're giving so much of your time and energy and talent and just you into writing this, that it doesn't come because you dislike that person and you
right. Yeah, this is
so
not
it
like
comes from love.
It right.
I mean, unless you're writing
Donald Trump, Elon Musk.
please let that be satiric.
No, but for the most of it,
they apologized in the author's note. I think it was.
But yeah, you're right. Like this and the art and everything, it's not done like with an intention to harm. It's done out of love and out of appreciation. And it's still, you don't have to like it. The actors don't have to like it. They don't have to know about it if they don't want to know about it. It's just, and regardless of, whether anybody thinks it's right or wrong or should happen or not, it's going to happen. It's just gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as soon as you're a public figure of any kind, this is what happens. Like, fandom has been around forever and it's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger. And, people are.
And recorded history.
Yes.
Is never going to go anywhere, right?
Yes.
And all recorded history is reinterpretation of what happened, right?
Yep.
And that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, and it, yeah, I could go on a whole fucking rant about how the majority of fucking textbooks are really shitty fandom, really shitty and inaccurate fandom.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, holding that, like, this RPF is also a way of like commemorating and holding someone's history, holding someone in the space of recorded history, which is probably much more intellectual and weird and kooky of me than not, but whatever. I'm sure.
And if you're writing,
it is I am.
And now we talked about, even though I don't really read this, there is fiction out there, fan fiction at RPF. That's not porn.
Yeah,
That's just,
Yeah.
You can count on one hand how many of those I've read. But I've told Colin this too when he's going to read it. And like, they're just lovely stories about just lovely a day in the life and
character development
and, all kinds of lovely,
and like the character you have in your head of who you want them to be if you encountered them, or
and also like the majority of porn has specifically fandom. I think I really enjoy fandom for specifically this reason, is that all of it is like deeply characterized and deeply personalized.
Yeah.
When I'm like in just random porn, you don't get like the, enemies to lovers, 50,000 words of plot and then like,
build up and
slow burns.
Right? Like there's something that's humanizing about the fandom.
Yeah.
Humanizing about like how you engage with the sense of pleasure and the sense of intimacy.
Yeah.
that's really unique to fandom, or at least I think it is. I don't know. But like it's the personalization of it, right? So all of it, even though it's rated E, it is also a lot more than that, you know? It's a connection. I will be sharing one of mine on that specific premise.
Love that.
I think that's also a good part of the fandom is getting to experience how other people see the person in their head, and then, you know, just interacting with other people who feel the same way that you do. Like, that's why I started writing down my fiction in high school. I found it, actually, by the way. I have binders in my office full of NSYNC fanfic, and I started writing it down because
Can
my
you
friends
scan those over to me?
Yeah, you need to put them on AO3. Oh my God, you
I
need
might.
to. Yes, you have to.
I might, but like that's why I started writing it down, was to share it with my friends who also felt the same way.
Yeah,
And it was exciting to not to have that connection, to not feel alone or weird or gross, or, you know. So it was it was a great bonding experience.
Yes.
Foundationally, what fandom is, like the only way that you like have fandom spaces is when you have the co-creation of stories. That relational aspect is intrinsic, especially in fandom spaces that are like intentionally anti-capitalist, because they'll fucking sue us.
Right.
But,
well, one last thing related to this before we wrap up is, do we think that it makes a difference the level of celebrity a person has? Like, did you write porn about the cute boy in your high school?
Unfortunately, I was very awkward.
I love that.
I had no friends in high school or middle school. And you know what I did with that? I wrote fan fiction about everyone.
I love that.
Did too.
I love it.
I mean,
wonderful.
I don't love that you felt lonely or whatever, but I love that. I love part of that.
But like, I think that that's probably where I'm coming from as well when I'm saying this, right? I think part of my own isolation in those moments was a resistance to actually talking to the person. I would write stories about them, right? And if it's closer to you and you're in that trap, I would suggest maybe examining that. Like what is stopping you from that fear? Or is it like could this be something like really lovely and fruitful and a relationship, right? You know, or, you know, stalking. I don't know. I'm realizing the tension there, right?
No, but I mean, this is interesting because, it can come in all kinds of forms. And I think there's a big difference between like actual stalking, you know, in a way, and writing a art about somebody that is like not ever meant for the person to see, and you know, just something for you because you enjoy it. And then if some other people enjoy it too, that's great. But
also, if you really enjoy a small time artist, just fucking tell them, because that's probably going to make their fucking day.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anything to add, Belle or Laura?
The closer versus farther away thing, I think, may also come down to how people feel about, again, sex with the idea of shame or embarrassment or things like that. So, you know, the odds of me ever being the same city, much less room, as Taika Waititi are very, very small. On the other hand,
the funny thing about that is
increasing exponentially at the longer I stay around.
Listen,
Ringa, it's terrifying.
No. That's not even what I meant. Laura was at a public event and was like leaving, and Taika was right in front of her, and
he was sitting behind me.
He was like messaging us, and I was like, "Steal him."
We walked out
just once
next to each other.
Just do it for us. That's amazing.
Down an aisle.
Like what, 2016, 17, something like that?
Yeah, 17 or 18.
Wow. Long time ago.
I'm going to take that with me.
Yeah,
too.
way before.
You just never
Ragnarok.
know when Taika will pop up.
Fair enough. I mean, you will know because he'll be like, Belle just exploded one day. We don't know. But
he's confetti.
It was just they just went up into flames. But whereas I've looked one in the eye, like, you know what I mean? But again, for me, I don't feel that shame. Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm not
right. And that's like, that is a difference between like people who are interested in this versus not, and whether you want to be loudly against something or just whatever.
Just ignore it.
But I mean, I think Taika maybe someday will get to a point where he's doing conventions, but I think he would enjoy it very much. I think he would because he thrives on attention, right?
I was going to say, he loves attention.
Yes, he does. He's just far too busy for that right now. And he's like in the middle of getting all of his awards and everything, so.
And he's had a lot of negative fans come at him. I mean, I used to love him on social media, and now he's not on there because every time he's anything, he's got 800 people coming at him going, "You ruined stuff," or whatever it is. And
I mean, he does seem, and again, I don't know him, but he does seem like he is pretty good about handling that to where he's like, well, I'm just not going to be on social media then, instead of like letting things, bother him. Hopefully they don't actually bother him. Hopefully he actually is just like whatever about it, because, it's never cool to have haters affecting someone's mood. But
the amount of shit that he got for Ragnarok was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like, also, I think part of that I kind of, I don't know, feel like is important is like, he's in a social context, right? Mm-hmm. He is an indigenous person who is very clearly disrupting systems of colonization, right? That was what Ragnarok was, right? Mm-hmm. That was like him taking something that is deeply colonial and full of like, I should say, I do love the fandom of Marvel. I really do. Yeah. But the fans of Marvel can sometimes be yikes and very white.
Wild.
Oh, yeah.
I don't say that in terms of skin tone. I say that in terms of just like whiteness of it.
And it's a lot of it is straight, white, cis men who are like making their existence everybody's problem. And it's not just in the Marvel fandom, it's in the whole world.
So like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's very intentionally put up some distance there for it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of something that like kind of has resonated with me about many of the Our Flag Means Death people, right? So like we've got Khan that, he came out as queer after things got big,
like,
right? Or was he
kind of came out, but like was just always kind of out, but like never really spoke about it. But he kind of like came out in a speech at a convention, and then like basically before that had just never really mentioned it much.
Yeah.
And then,
and he's been
since then
like a while, right?
He has, and he's played a lot of like queer roles, and I think that's why he was kind of like, I didn't feel like I had to come out, but
but also he was in an industry that was like intentionally homophobic
for sure.
And so now that he's like in this space of like, hey, not only is this one of your great strengths, everyone fucking loves and supports it. Yes. Of course he's gonna be just like, oh fuck, what? Really? Cool. I'm taking off my shirt. Like,
yes, thank God.
Thank you.
Yes. He does love taking his shirt off now. And very excited about that.
It's a win for everybody.
It's a win for everybody. We all love it. Except for his haters, and they can fuck off. So
they don't have to participate.
You don't have to look at the titties.
You could just examine why you are confronted with explicit queerness.
Why do you have a problem with the titties? They're just titties. They're just old man titties.
Lovely, beautiful, delicious,
fuzzy, squishy titties.
Why are you scared of looking at the tits and wanting to suck on them?
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask yourself that.
Yeah. Come on, man.
That's not holy.
It's very holy.
Also,
most thoughts are
very holy.
A religious experience.
They are a religious experience. It is the Holy Land.
God.
So on that note, now that we've talked about everything and RPF a little bit.
Do you think we have about a 20-minute episode out of this?
Yeah, it's okay. I like the long episodes. I like to hear people in the fandoms I'm interested in talking about the fandoms. And I will listen to as much of it as exists. So, here we go. So, does anybody have a fanfic rec?
This was the first book that I formatted and printed. I did not bind it myself, but
oh my God.
It was mass paperback binding. I made the artwork, thank you. And it is an RPF, hockey RPF, and it is And Never Been Kissed by the Holden and 20-something.
Oh my goodness.
And it is fancy. Sidney Crosby and Gino Malkin. There we go.
I was like, do you need help? Yeah. And that is funny. They're both like hockey players for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but like they are like the pairing of hockey RPF.
Yeah. And I swear to God, if you read this fic, you will understand why. Because it is like a story of like so like Sidney Crosby is taken up by the fandom in a very specific way, in that he's like a fucking space toaster that doesn't know how to human, right? And so this is a story about a space toaster that doesn't know how to human in the process of coming out and then falling in love with a boy who's from a country who will like decimate his future if he comes out. And yet they find love.
Yes,
and also there's penguins.
They found love in a hopeless place.
Exactly.
Belle, do you have a rec?
So there's quite a few that I like that are Con and Nathan. There's one that I really like, obviously by Anonymous, because we talked about that. Promises. There is a series, a 3-part series it's called Con's Tits.
Yes.
Another
Excellent.
Anonymous one. It's an excellent one, and that goes Taika, Con, and of course Reese.
Nice.
Yeah, and another one. I've got so many, but I'll leave it to the 3. There's a Have You People Call My People, and Taika and Con.
Nice.
Anonymous as well.
How about you, Laura?
I'm going to recommend the first Sebastian Stan fic I ever read. I read it on Tumblr, but it is also on AO3, which is a much easier way to consume fanfic.
Yes, and keep track of it too.
Yeah. Oh, it took me so long to move my Tumblr stuff to AO3. This story is called Giving Up by Lexi Lulu, and it is going to be 10 years old this year.
Ooh, happy birthday.
And it started off as a one-shot, a one-night stand kind of one-shot with an original female character. And then it evolved into a 33-chapter fic. It's very long and it is complete. But yeah,
that's great. It's so sad when like
words?
when they're so long and then they like give you like a chapter like length they're gonna be, so it's like finished or close to it, and then they just stop updating at some point and you're like,
this many.
Yeah.
It's 130,000 words.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of RPF basically ever, but I read Once Upon a Time way back when, in the beginning of this fandom. Let's see, this was written in May of 2022. So it was like not too long after Our Flag Means Up first came out. And it is a Con and Taika story. And it's about them like rehearsing in one of their trailers, the choking scene in the final episode of season 1. And they get a little too into it. And so why would you ever take a sip of anything while I'm speaking?
It was so close to coming out of my nose.
So, I enjoyed this story despite not it being my normal thing. So I'm recommending this. And then I'm going to have Carly put in the show notes my Martha Stewart thing from Pornathon too, because it's very funny and I think people will enjoy it. So everybody send me your links to those things or the titles or whatever.
Did you actually give the title of the thing that you just...
Did I? Nope.
No.
I got so excited about Martha Stewart.
Martha.
So the Taika and Con story is called Baby Get Low Because I Already Am. Oh. And it's by Anonymous. And the Martha Stewart one is called A Rose in the Garden, I think. And it's by me. And you can send it to her and tell her I wrote it. Just kidding. Don't send it to her. But I think she'd be into it.
Never do that to you.
If she wants to read it, send it to her, because I'm not embarrassed to have her read it. I think she'd kind of like it, but only with consent, folks.
Yep.
So now that we've talked for 8,000 years, what are you up to and where can we find you, Jasper?
I don't really have many socials. I'm in Millvale. I'm in Austin.
Find me.
I don't know.
Find me.
I live in this city.
I watched one of the McElboys live streams, and their guest was just like, "Follow me to a park." Like,
yes,
like find me. And I'm just really resonating with that on Tumblr as D. Flint. Nope. Go on.
I'm going to make a Tumblr that's called that and impersonate you.
Yeah. You'll probably get better content on that one than mine. And I'm also, a perpetual student and often in school.
Yeah, you probably will find Jasper more often on this podcast than anywhere else on the internet.
That is accurate.
Amazing.
Yes, when I'm not on this podcast, I am writing a dissertation.
And I need to get with you to have us record Omegaverse Part 3, which we teased way back when we did Omegaverse Part 2, which was ages ago. Yes, we have gotten many people into Omegaverse.
That's amazing.
The podcast.
Yeah, genre that's like playing around with gender. How more
it's
queer?
So good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had a lot of feedback that people were like, didn't really understand it or weren't into it before they listened to our episodes about it. So good job, Dr. Omegaverse. Yeah.
Psychology is all about converting people to liking Omegaverse.
Yes. Well, speaking of Omegaverse, I know that Laura's going to be using that tentacle toy.
Wait, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Am I the Omega?
He could be. I don't know who's going to use it. I don't know who's going to receive it.
Oh, that's a good question. We can talk about that later if you want.
But like Omegaverse is historically founded on Mpreg, so no, you're not the one that's the Omega.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm
that's
making
true.
an assumption about the partner because I think you used he/him pronouns, but I can't.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you're not the Omega.
You know what's funny is that I had just said it in a Discord recently that like now since Khan has read some fan fiction, which, you know, the ones that I wrote for his event were like the only ones he's read. I was like, I should get him to read Omegaverse now. And
That's quite a leap.
somebody was like,
was
would you send
confused about being trans in the story?
Well, only for momentarily. And somebody was like, would you send him one of yours or someone else's? And I was like, well, I'd only send him my stuff unless, you know, somebody gave me permission. And I was like, I have a story about Omega Izzy begging Ed to fill him with his eggs. And then he does. And I was like, maybe that's too much to introduce him to Omegaverse.
That's like an offshoot of Omega.
That's Kraken. That's his eggs.
Yeah.
Can I just also, there's a specific genre of Omegaverse that like goes really like pretty like scientific with the animal similarities. I now know more about like slugs.
Wolves.
No, I mean the wolves I expected, but like creatures do like
That is a fantastic face.
It's all part of your research for your dissertation, right?
Yeah.
On the store we got our toy at, there is like several, you know, million differently shaped things, but they also have paws, huge,
We'll probably play.
like, yeah. And it was eye-opening. And I was like, oh, this is the assistant to the Omegaverse figure reading right now.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I understand.
Yep.
I knew immediately what it was for.
So anyhow, Laura, where can people find you and what are you up to besides the tentacle?
Hey, that might take a month, so I have some free time to do other things. I've been debating.
You can also choose to not be found. We have a resident sexy ghost who does not give any information about herself.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I did last time. I was just like, don't find me, I'm awkward. It's awkward.
I'll drop my Blue Sky in the notes for you if anybody's interested in reading my steady fanfic or my future.
I'm sure that some people who are into Our Flag Means Death, they're also into Stranger Things. It must be, you know, similar.
I read one that was like Steve was Steed and Eddie was Ed.
Oh my god! See,
it was
this
so
thing
trippy.
is like their names are too close.
I know.
Yeah,
I steady. I was like, is that a thing?
Well, that was like one of the original names of the ship was like Steed, but with the E capitalized in the middle. And some people pronounced it Steady. And it's just, no, that's no good.
Yeah,
and then we had Black Bonnet for a long time. And I'm glad that it has settled on Gentle Beard because that's probably the best one. But
yeah.
Okay, so we'll follow Laura if you want to read Steady Things. And also she'll be working on finishing her other fanfics so that she can write Our Flag Means Death fanfics before the tentacle arrives.
Yeah, I won't be productive after that.
Enjoy.
All right, Belle, what are you up to? Any tentacles in your future?
Not yet. So on all the socials, I'm on most of them. I'm Perilous and Wicked, just an N. And then on the meta ones, I am Bella Southern Bank. You can actually usually find me just waxing poetic about Con in one way or another. And lately, I've started doing podfics. I'm actually accomplishing things, and a couple are going to be in the podcast. And so if anybody wants this voice to record their podcast, the fic fanfictions, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And when are you leaving to go to New Zealand?
Less than a month.
Oh my God.
Wait.
That's so exciting.
And again, I scared Reese by having to mention that I coincidentally will be in Wellington when he's in Wellington, and I will be going to a show. And it was, I swear, a coincidence, but I guess it comes off a little stalkerish.
Bel met Reese in London and in Austin and now in Wellington, just by accident.
No, the Austin one was so that's when I come off as a psychopath, because he did 4 shows and I had tickets to the first one, and then I had something to do in Houston that Sunday morning. So I drove back to Houston, and then I took a bus back to Austin to go to the last show. So, but okay. Okay. I can see it. I can hear it now.
Enjoy New Zealand. That's going to be really fucking cool. But if you're anywhere near Pittsburgh, there is an upcoming, and when I say upcoming, it's like 3 months from now. It gives you plenty of time to plan. Calypso's birthday party at Harold's Haunt, which is the bar that I haunt. It is on May 24th. So that's like 3 months from now. You have time to plan. If you're anywhere within 7 hours of driving to Pittsburgh, you should come here. It's a super great time. It is at a They Bar in Pittsburgh. There's lots of non-alcoholic options. And also we make a whole cocktail menu that's all themed drinks for Our Flag Means Death. I decorate the whole bar to look like Jackie's bar. And I decorate the whole back patio. Last time it looked like a whole ass ship was back there. We watch the episodes. We have lots of great music. You will be transported.
Yay, Pittsburgh.
And we'll see you next time with another amazing episode of Our Flag Means Fanfiction. I almost said Our Pod Means Fanfiction. And it's not even late for me. I'm just all talked out. Our Flag Means Fanfiction. Thank you all. Goodbye.